Hello everybody. I hope you're all staying safe and well. Safe and well. In today's video, we're gonna do a ramble about my Europe trip, which I got back from like 2 nights ago. So super exciting, super fun. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below to support me. And let's get into the story time. So, and I have my breakfast here in my tea. But so, I have wanted to visit a few places ever since I was a wee little girl. I've always wanted to visit Hawaii, which I still haven't been to. Me and my mom were going to do that trip. And I also wanted to visit England, the United Kingdom, and London, specifically in England. When I was a girl, I watched The Royal Wedding. I loved British accents. I would practice my British accent, like all that. Like, I just always wanted to visit England. So after starting my full-time job and getting a place and a car and kind of the basic kind of like staple adult things, right? I was like, all right, it's time to find an England trip. Like, I can't wait for people to go with me. If you wait for other people to be ready to do things you want to do, then they may never be ready and you may never go. So I was like, okay. So I started looking at all these trips online. I've seen different like tour companies you could go through, who you meet the people there and you tour the countries together. They set up a lot of things for you, etc. Because I didn't want to book it completely like alone, not knowing what was going on. Like, I kind of wanted to go through like a tour group or something to help me have some peace of mind going by myself as a solo trip. So I found this tour group that books your flights for you, which that was a big thing. I was stressed about flights. So they book your flights for you, they book your accommodations for you, and you go and you meet this group of people there who have all signed up for the tour group. And there's like 4 girls in the same room or 4 guys in the same room. Like, it's sex-based rooming unless you upgrade to your own room, which I did not. And I was a little nervous about rooming with other people because I used to be a very light sleeper. But I was just like, you know what? Like, I could make more friends and stuff, like rooming with people probably. And I didn't want to pay however much extra just to get a separate room. So I booked everything through them and signed up. And then I was on a payment plan, and every month I was paying a bit towards the trip until like a month before the trip. So in like July, where I had paid off the trip. And there were optional excursions. You could pay extra to sign up for 2. Like, there was one to Versailles, which I signed up for. There was one to the London Eye, and like sort of like a boat cruise thing for like a London tea party after the London Eye. So I signed up for that one too. I signed up like super last minute. And then our tour director made like a WhatsApp group. Let's see something on this window. Made like a WhatsApp group before it was time to go, and added everyone to it and emailed us about the optional like team building sort of nights that he picked, which was a bistro wine tasting night in Paris and a boat cruise in Amsterdam. And then there was like a bike tour one in Amsterdam that I didn't sign up for. But so there were all those things, and those are what I signed up for. And the trip was to London, England, London, England, Paris, France, and Amsterdam, the Netherlands. So little old me was kind of running around, hectic, frantic, trying to get everything ready for the trip. I called my bank and was like, how do charges work? And they told me it was however much of a charge. So I was like, okay, I'll try to take out, euros or pounds when we get there. And I was kind of nervous because I contacted my phone service place, and I have Walmart Family Mobile, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, I've had nothing but terrible experiences with me. I asked them to unlock my phone before the trip, because I had to wait for a year. Now it's been a year, and they said like, okay, you'll get an email confirmation when it's done. Never got the email confirmation. They said they'd send me a new SIM card because they were supposedly bought out by Verizon now. Never got the SIM card. Like, their customer service is terrible. They just hold you on the line for hours waiting for you to hang up. Like, it was just very bad. But I asked them if I could get like an international service plan to use in Europe, and I don't think they know what they were talking about, because they were like, no, we don't have any service in Europe, and we were just bought out by Verizon. And I'm like, but I know people with Verizon who have service in Europe. Like, it was just very weird. But so I was stressed and did not get my phone internationally ready before I left, so that was stressful. But so I fly out, I'm frazzled at work the day before, and I leave. The flight was there was what was it, I want to say a 6 or 8 hour flight, and then there was a hour layover, and then there was a 1 hour flight. And whichever one the long flight was, I was shooketh because I've never been on long flights like that before. So I was shook when they brought out the meals. They tasted nasty. It was just this little stir fry, but I was still shook that they brought out full meals and whatever. And I flew with United there. And they give you blankets and the neck thing, and I was like, wow, this is different. That I had my hour layover, and I was nervous because I was like, if there's delays, I won't make my layover, my connection. But there were no delays, so I made my other flight too. So I flew into Newark, and then from Newark I flew to London. And when I arrived, the tour company I went with sends a driver to meet you. So it took me a minute to find the guy, but then I found the guy. It's this British guy. All the people who were there to pick up people were all kind of just looking down at their phones. They weren't really looking ready for you, so you kind of had to search for them through all the people. But so I find the guy, and it's this British guy with his sign and whatever. And I'm like, hi, and he's like, hi, and he's like, do you need to stop to get anything? And I'm like, no. And he's like, are you okay? Because I probably looked rough after all that flying. And I was like, yeah. So we go, and it's kind of awkward. I get the vibe that the guy is silently judging me, but he's being polite, which I'm told by our tour director, who's British, is the British way to silently judge but be polite. So not to say anything, but just to in your head be kind of judging. That's what our British tour guide said. But so it was kind of awkward. So he gets the car, he helps me with his bag. I go to sit in the car, and he's like, oh, can you sit on the other side? Because he wanted me across from him, but I forgot that their roads are flipped over there. So what would have been opposite diagonal from the driver in the US is the opposite in the UK. But so he's like, can you sit there? So I do. So I'm all ready to go, and he's like, can I see some sort of passport identification? And I'm thinking, dang, you just put my bags away. What if it was in the bag? but it was in my handbag, so I was like, sure, and showed it to him, and we were off on our way. And the drive was very long. It took us like an hour to get to our destination. And it was very awkward. It was very hot. He didn't have the windows down for a minute. And then like at one point he was hot. He took off his jacket. It was super awkward and silent. Like it was just very awkward of a ride, honestly. So then I get there, I talk to the front desk person, and it's not time for check-in yet. And I'm like, I'm with this group, I don't know, like, da-da-da-da-da. And he's like, oh yeah, more of them are over there. So I go and I meet the ones who are over there, and they're all kind of just sitting, waiting for check-in and for the tour guide to come. So I sleep. I sit back in the chair and I sleep for a good couple of hours. And then the next time the tour guide came, I was like, okay, okay. And he started checking us in with the rooms that were ready. And in London, we only had one roommate. So I was paired with this girl who went with her boyfriend. And she said like he wanted to room together, but she didn't, or something, I don't know. So I ended up rooming with her, which was kind of a bummer because like I kind of wanted to room with someone who wanted to like go out and do stuff. But since I got roomed with her, like she wanted to go do things solo with her boyfriend. Like she really didn't. Neither of them really did much with the group the whole time. So that was kind of a bummer, getting roomed with her. With that in mind. But yeah, so we get in our rooms, and then we have like some time to get ready and whatnot before the welcome dinner. And then we all head out in the welcome dinner. So we're walking to this little pub, and our tour guide is taking us, and we're walking just, all around London to get to this place. And so we're kind of seeing some of the sites without getting like a real explanation of them yet, and people are kind of talking, and we all kind of just made like small talk on the way. It was kind of awkward because like I don't know these people, they don't know me, a lot of them don't know each other. There were a few groups. There was maybe like 3 groups and like 2 couples, maybe 3 couples actually. And it was a group of 25 people, not including our tour guide, which was wild. And it was all from ages like 20 to 29. So I was at a little bit of the lower end of the scale, being 23, turning 24 on the trip. And most of the girls were like 26, I think, and it was mostly girls. Out of the 25 people, there were like 6 guys, and like 3 of them were in relationships and 2 of them were gay. So there was none of that like weird stuff when you like go on a trip and like people start coupling off and start getting weird with each other and like competing with each other. There was none of that because there simply was not options for all the girls who were into guys. Like there was none of that because there were like no single guys in our group. But so we went to the welcome dinner. We actually didn't do any icebreakers at the welcome dinner, which I thought was kind of strange. Like I was kind of expecting that and kind of wished we had, because like I didn't know these people, I didn't go with a group, so I was like hoping we would do icebreakers, and we didn't. But I sat across from one of the girls at the little table at the welcome dinner, and we started talking, and she said that her birthday was actually the next day. And I was like, oh my gosh, because my birthday was going to be a few days more into the trip. So I was like, oh my gosh. So we're like, woo, August birthday babies, whatever, So we talked, and so that was the first person I started to get to know on the trip, like hang out with. So then we went back, and did we go out that night, or was it the next night? I think it was the next night. So then the next day, he gave out the like tour bus cards or the like train cards to get in the train. My neighbors are taking a shower and you can hear it really loud in here. But he gave out the like train ticket things and showed us how to use them, and he skipped me at first, so then I had to like go through with somebody else and then be like, I didn't get a card. So we get on the trains and we had our tour of London that day. So we like got on a bus, got to our location, got off, and then a British girl like walked us around like Buckingham Palace, the Big Ben, like the London Bridge, like all these beautiful things, and like showed us them, and we took pictures, we took videos, and she was such a good tour guide, so funny. Like she told us like she like kind of gave her little snippets of her opinions. Like when we went by like Parliament or something, she was like, oh, that's where they're fixing our economic crisis, apparently. I'm not sure if I believe it, but that's what they say. Or she said something like, she was kind of spunky, so I really liked her. But yeah, we took a bunch of pictures and videos, and we didn't really know each other yet, so I feel like I still didn't really talk to people much, but I talked to people a little. I kind of stayed around the girl I had met the previous night a lot. And yeah, we just all like took photos and just paid attention and whatever. And then that night, like some of us had been talking about going out and like going to some British pubs. So like a group of us girls got together and went to the club, like the pubs. And it was maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us. No, 7, no, 6. I think it was like 6 of us. And so we took the train by ourselves and like made it around. And the first pub we went to was in Camden Town, which our tour guide said he used to spend a lot of time at when he was younger. So we were like, okay. And we went to this pub called World's End. It was like very emo, very metal, very rock. And so like people were like, you know, headbanging and doing that whole shebang. And it was cool, but like most of us were like, okay, maybe like a little bit of a different vibe we want. So then the one girl really liked it, but the rest of us were kind of like, we want to try something a little different. So then we went to a different pub, and it had like they had like US dollars like on the board, like as souvenirs, and they had like all these like streamers and like I think it was like Charlie Brown or no, the Smurfs or like something playing on the TV. Like it was, there were a lot of like bright like Hawaii type like disco-y type lights, and it was just very cute. And then there was a spot upstairs we went, and it was very much giving like college dorms, like drinking after finals. Like there were a bunch of British kids there drinking and laughing, and it was just a really good vibe, and we were like, oh my gosh. So we got our little drinks and talked about what we wanted to explore, what we wanted to try in Amsterdam. Well, we were excited for all that. So then the like 6 of us who went kind of just like got to know each other a little bit, which was nice. And then the next day, I don't know if that's the day, that I think was the London Tea Day. No, that day we must have had the the next day I think was the London Tea, and we went, and like we went to the, or was the London Tea after the tour? Maybe the London Tea was the first day, I don't know, but at some point we went to the London Eye. And so we went in the Ferris wheel, and it's very much like the Ferris wheel in Vegas, where it goes around slowly and it doesn't stop. You just have to get on as it's moving slowly. And we thought they would like give us our own like pod since there were so many of us, but they put us in with another group, so all the seats were taken, and we were like, oh my gosh, we've just been walking all day, like yada yada. But we went and we, you know, listened to the little info and took some pictures and videos, but we were kind of like, it's a little overrated, a little expensive for what we got. But yeah, and then afterwards we went on some boat to have our London tea. And at first they didn't let us on because they were like, they got us mixed up with a different tour group from the same company, and they said like we had an outstanding bill and our tour guide had to like go figure something out, and he said we were like paying for one extra person that we didn't have on our trip, and he was like, it's whatever, they'll figure it out, I'll take it to the office. So then we got on and we sat down, and they brought out like these trays with like scones and tea sandwiches and tea or coffee and little macarons. So we ate, and I feel like I was feeling a little nauseous because we were on this boat and I was seated backwards, so I was moving backwards, so I felt a little nauseous. But we ate, and then after we were finished, they were like, join us above deck and we'll do some sightseeing on the last wraparound. So we did, and that was when it was nice, I feel like, was when we went above deck, because below deck, like, it was dark. It was kind of like almost like seasick-y. But once we went above deck, like, it was super sunny, and the weather was so nice in London. Like, it was cool, but it was sunny the whole time we were there. So I was like, this is actually really nice weather. Like, I don't know why people say the weather is so bad. Like, we actually had really nice weather the whole time we were there. It was like 70s and sunny. So super nice. And then when we did like the sightseeing, like, and seeing the water and being on the top of the boat, like, it was just very cute, very nice. And again, we talked a little bit while we were up there, you know, some team, getting to know each other. And then we had a free day in London. I don't know what we did. I don't really remember. I don't know if that was the night we went to Camden, or I have to look at my pictures. Maybe that was the day. Oh, I know what it was. Me and a couple of the girls decided we would go to see the British Museum. So me, the girl with the birthday a few days before mine, and then with another girl who was her roommate, who was her birthday was like a week before the trip, we all went to the British Museum. And that was so cool. We took so many pictures, so many videos. My feet were killing me, but there was so much cool stuff to see there, and I took so many pictures. So yeah, we went to see that. Oh, and we also went to see the changing of the guard that morning. Our tour guide told us where to go, so we went with a big group and saw the changing of the guard. And then some people went to see like Abbey Road, and some of us went to see the British Museum, and some people went somewhere else. So after the changing of the guard, which was pretty cool, and the horses came by so close when they were leaving, and it was just very cool. I got some good videos there. After that, we went to the British Museum, took a bunch of pics, walked a bunch, all of that. And then we went souvenir shopping. I looked at all the cute stuff they had and kind of just like looked around town. And then after that, we split up. The one girl went to go to a shopping center, and me and the other girl went to Soho and went to this Korean barbecue that had really nice food. It was probably like the best meal we had there. So that was our free day in London. And then the next day we went to Paris on the train bright and early. And going to Paris bright and early in the morning was wild. I had to like figure out how to carry my souvenirs. I had too many bags. Like, I got bruises on my arms from carrying my duffel bag, because I have a full-size bag, my checked luggage, but it was a hand bag. Like, I don't have the roller kind, and I didn't think to get some before I left. I thought it would be fine. I didn't think about the fact that we were going to have to walk to and from the train station in between countries and all that. So I was exhausted and suffering lugging that hand baggage around to get to the train. But then we got on the train to go to Paris, and it was a nice train. You could buy snacks. So I got chips and water while we were on board. then we arrived in Paris, and we go and check in to this hostel, and it was kind of like a little hipster vibe in there. Like, it was artsy and cute, and we were like, okay. So we drop off our bags, and then we head out for like our, what was it, Paris bus tour or something, I don't know. So we go on this tour, and my feet are like so sore and like swollen at this point, like just very sore. So we walk all around, and then, but there's, you know, beautiful sights. Paris is gorgeous, so we're like seeing all this gorgeous stuff, and we're like, wow. Our tour guide is walking us around everywhere, every which way. We come back, and we're like getting ready for the night, and we're like, okay, like, do we want to, we have the bistro wine tasting night that night, so we're like, okay, do we want to drink first? Like, whatever. So we go up to the little bar there, and there's this man working the bar, and he was the most attractive man I saw the whole trip. Like, he was just gorgeous, very attractive, very hot, like very just stunning, like very intense eyes, like just super attractive. So he's working, and he's kind of like looking kind of like not super friendly, like a little annoyed, a little stoic, whatever. So the one girl like orders something from him at the bar, and he kind of, what she describes as like glares at her, and she's like, oh my gosh, like that was my welcome to Paris. Like, so everyone's kind of like at this point, because they're like because we were very much getting the vibe that they're like, these Americans, like, which we knew going into it that like that was the thing in Paris. Like, the conception is that they don't like Americans, like that's what people say. So we were like, okay, nervous. So that was our first introduction to Paris, and yeah, like I thought the guy was like nice enough. Like, he like kind of like asked me if I wanted a drink before, and I didn't even ask him. So I was like, he was nice enough to me. But yeah, I could definitely see what they meant, because he was kind of like glaring at everyone. But I was like, oh my gosh, he was very beautiful, like very attractive. But so that was that. And then we went out to the bistro night, and he like walked us there, and I was wearing these sandals because I was wearing a dress, and my feet got so swollen, and I got so many blisters this night. And that was the first thing that made Paris be like, for me, because like it was beautiful, but right off the bat, like my feet were so swollen and blistered. We go out. The girl that I was with got her card taken by the ATM. Like, she put it in to get money out, and it didn't like give it back. So like immediately the first night, my feet got super swollen and blistered, like painfully so. Her card got taken, and it was just like right away. Like, Paris was just like, it came at us like rough. Like, it was just a little like whoa. And also the hostel we stayed in, like, it was very cute, like an artsy, like kind of hipster vibe, which was very cool. I liked it, but it was like so far away from everything. Like, you had to walk to get to the train stop to get into town to see the sights. Like, it was far away. There wasn't any food places nearby. You had to eat by the hostel and brave like the staff, and like, you know, you were trying to order in French or English, and like some of the staff kind of just came off as rude, and like it was just like not it kind of seemed like we were in a sketchy part of town. Like, two of the people in our group said they were almost jumped in Paris. There was this girl who like looked like she was thinking about trying something when I was walking with the one girl. Like, she was really looking at us and had this like disturbed look, and then was like swearing towards us, and then at the last minute she like swerved away, and I was like, that's right, don't start none, won't be none. Like, but it was just like wild immediately. And then like the next day, it might have been, I got lost in Paris. Like I went out with the group. I was hanging out with the girl who got the drink the previous day. I'd gotten to know her, and so we were hanging out more in Paris. And like we went out somewhere, and then we went to try to go to the Louvre. I think this was the free day actually, but I'll just say it now. But we went to go to the Louvre, and they didn't let me in because my time slot was later than theirs, and I had got skipped the line tickets, and they didn't let me in. And then when I came back, when it was my time, they were like, no, this is a voucher ticket through a third party, like you have to call them. They were just like so difficult and rude, and looked at me like I was the scum of the earth, and did not let me into the Louvre. So that had me like about Paris too. And then like, yeah, it was just like so much stuff happened in Paris. Like it was so hot outside. It was like 90 degrees. We're packed on these trains. Like it was just, Paris beat us up. It like chewed us up and spit us out. I got lost. I didn't have phone service. I got lost. I didn't know how to find my way back. I ended up going in the completely opposite direction that I was supposed to go in. And then I somehow found my way back because I started seeing stuff from the first night when our tour guide started walking us all around. So I kind of started being able to figure out where I was going even without Google Maps and, you know, whatever, and service. But yeah, Paris chewed us up and spit us back out, specifically me. But it finished last in our tour group. Like afterwards we did polls, and like everyone said London or Amsterdam was their favorite. There was maybe 2 people out of 25 who said Paris was their favorite. Like everyone in the chat was like, Paris almost killed me. Paris like was like traumatic. Like everyone said that like Paris was like a punch to the gut. Like everybody had horror stories from Paris. I also had what felt like a near-death experience in Paris because it was super hot in our rooms. Like the AC wasn't really working, and someone in our group was like, oh, you can go get fans from the front desk. So me and my roommate go down, and there was like some private event party going on this night too. So I kind of wanted to see if the party was dying down. I kind of wanted to talk to the bartender, who was super cute. Like, so I was kind of checking out the scene downstairs, but I went and I was like, okay, I'll get a fan too. So we got the fans, and the guys at the receptionist desk are like, oh, like, is it red or blue, the AC thing in your room? And we're like, it's blue, the air is on. Like, we're not that dumb. And he's like, oh, is the window open? So they give us this whole spiel. Then they finally give us the fans. And we're going to the fans. They give us the fans. The cords are everywhere. We get in the elevator, and I turn to the one girl who's my roommate, and we have 3 roommates in Paris. So the one girl that I had roomed with before with the boyfriend, another girl who had traveled a lot and did a lot of solo things apart from the group, and the other girl who, this was like her second time internationally traveling. She had a really bad experience the first time, so she wanted to try it again with the tour group. But so those were my roommates in Paris. But so I tell the one girl that I'm down there with, like, oh, I think you're like, oh, your cord's out. And she's like, no, it's your cord. The elevator starts moving. The ginormous fan in my hands, you guys, flies out of my hands, crashes into the elevator doors, is like shaking and like writhing against the doors because the cord is stuck, and it's like all against the doors. The elevator doors stop. I'm in shock. We make it to our floor. The doors open. The girl starts pulling the cord out of the elevator shaft, and she gets to the bottom, and the plug is ripped clean off, tore off of the cord. Like, you guys, I was like in shock, because I was like, if the cord had been on the other side of my body, like it would have slammed the pressure from the thing moving up and the fan flying across the room. Like, I would have been on the other side of that, and I would have slammed into the doors. The cord probably would have cut into me. it would be me instead of the fan writhing against the doors as it's going up and can't stop. Like, I was shooketh, and I was like, oh my gosh, that could have been it. Like, that could have been the end. Like, that could have been it. The freaking fan. Like, I was like, can you imagine? What a way to go. Like, I was so shooketh. I was like, oh my fucking gosh. Like, that was like, I was like in shock after that. I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, Paris was crazy. And so then I get back and we like go and talk to the people from our group who are outside, and I tell them the story. Everyone is like laughing and like, oh my gosh, and like it's just such a thing. And then me and the one girl who got the drink, like we stayed out like with the on the balcony for a while, and it was nice. It was cool outside. We just talked, night watched or whatever, so that was nice. But yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, I had so much energy after that because it was like a shocking experience, like, you know. So there was that, and then we went to Versailles one of the days. It was very beautiful, so gorgeous inside. I took so many pictures and videos, but it was very hot. And then we saw the gardens afterwards, and again it was very hot. And the girl I was with, the girl who had ordered the drink the first day, like we were both like, oh my gosh, it is so hot, like we gotta chill out before we get like heat stroke or something. And ordering food in Versailles was kind of difficult because they like didn't really speak English at the places we went to. So Versailles, like France, Paris and Versailles was just like a little stressful. And then the one night we got a group of the girls together and we went to dinner. That was nice. And then we went by the Eiffel Tower. And to their credit, by the Eiffel Tower, everyone was like super nice, super friendly, super not rude. And I think it's because it's like the touristy spot. So that's probably like all their business as people like touristing and seeing the Eiffel Tower and whatever. So they were very nice to us. Whereas all the other places we went in Paris, the people were like very rude. Like our tour director said, just say bonjour, then say English, then say like merci, and like you'll be fine. But like people looked at us like they hated us for being from the States. But so the Eiffel Tower night was like really fun, and then the next night we went back again, and saw the Eiffel Tower again. We saw it sparkle 2 nights. And I think we went somewhere else too. Oh, we got some drinks that night, and the like bar person gave us like second drinks on the house that we didn't order, but then our total was a little more expensive than it was supposed to be. So we were like, was it actually on the house? But he was like flirting with the one girl. I think she's one of the only people who had a good experience in Paris. But he was like flirting with her and gave her his number afterwards. And yeah, that was Patty. The macaroons were good. The crepes were so much better than the US. But that was Paris. Then we left for Amsterdam and took the train, and Amsterdam was super nice getting into. Like, was very low stress, low pressure. The like customs or whatever, it's like free travel or something, so it was very like non-stressful getting in. The train ride wasn't as bad. My baggage wasn't as bad because I had rearranged to condense my stuff. And it was just like super nice. As soon as we got into Amsterdam, it was like Harry Potter vibes. Like it was like cooler, which was so refreshing after Paris being super hot. It was cool. The architecture was nice and like academia-esque, like literature-esque, bookish. Like it was just a vibe. And we had a walking tour. So our feet were super sore, but the walking tour was so good. Our tour guide was excellent. He told us all this history. He showed us bars where like the first gay bar where they hid gay people, where they hid Jewish people during the war, like all this different stuff. His family, he had relatives who like survived all that, so it was like personal for him too. And he just really gave us so much history. He told us about how they were able to get down their homeless population in Amsterdam by not criminalizing them but treating them like human beings and helping them. And like it was just so cool. Like I fell in love with Amsterdam, one, from how beautiful and dark academia-esque it was as soon as we got there, but two, from that tour, from him just like explaining like all the cool things in Amsterdam and how they treat people like people there. So that was really so fun. And everybody bikes in Amsterdam, so you have to watch out for the bikers. The roads are like uneven, like brick, so that hurt for our feetsies, but it was very nice, very much a vibe. And then he also told us about how like a lot of recreational things are legalized in Amsterdam, like shrooms are legal, and just like different recreational things are legal. And they also have a controversial red light district, which is like interesting. That's a whole other thing we won't get into, but he just like explained a lot about the history and culture, and it was just very interesting. Just like everybody was generally in a good mood in Amsterdam. Like they spoke English, but they also spoke Dutch. And yeah, everybody was just like nicer and more chill in Amsterdam. And we had the least amount of time in Amsterdam, unfortunately. But so we had our tour, and then that was my birthday, was the day we went from Paris to Amsterdam. So at first it was a little rough carrying the luggage over, but it was like, okay. Then we had that lovely tour, and then we had our team night that night, which I didn't even say what happened the bistro night in Paris for our team night, but basically they served us a lot of wine and serenaded us, and it was cute, and we laughed and got to know each other. I got to know the girls at my table better. One of them was in a group, but like she socialized a lot with people outside of her group the whole time. The other one was the girl who had the bad experience with travel before, and then the other one was the girl who got the drink the first night, who I hung out with probably the most on the trip. But so that was the bistro night in Paris. But in Amsterdam, we had our boat cruise that day. So it was my birthday. We get on this boat after the tour, after we got the nice classic like Amsterdam fries and the like falafels or whatever. We get on this boat. The tour guide is like passing out food. There's cheese, there's wine, there's rosé, there's beer, there's soda, there's like everything you could want. And we're like going through the canal, and it's just super beautiful, just super cute. We pass F1 drivers like with their cars, like showing them off on the canal. Like it was just so cute. We're all like talking and vibing, bonding. It's like one of the last days, like the second to last day. So we like know each other pretty well at this point, and we're just having like a really good time. And then one of the girls is like, oh, happy birthday to you, and starts singing happy birthday to me. And then they all join in, and it was like the sweetest thing ever, because if you know me, you know like I never had birthday parties growing up. Like birthdays were never like super whatever. So just like being there in a canal, having so many good vibes, seeing all the cute little sights, and having like a group of people you've just been through all these like random crazy experiences with, singing you happy birthday. Like it was just so sweet. So that was like the highlight of the whole trip for me, was that like canal ride. Then we got off, we took a couple group pictures, and then I think we might have gone to some shops after that. I don't know, but it was just like such a nice vibe. I think maybe we went out after that or something. I don't know. And then the next day, I went to the Van Gogh Museum with like another group, one of the groups I hadn't really gotten to know yet since we were there, and they were so hilarious. I wish I had more time to get to know them too, because they were just like so funny. And that's the thing about going on like a 9-day trip with that many people. Like you get to know a different group of people every few days if you're talking to different people, and like every time you get to know another group of people, you're like, oh my gosh, they're so cool. So like we went around, I took tons of pictures. It was very surreal for me because I learned about Vincent van Gogh when I was a kid, and you know, with my mom, like she was into Van Gogh, I was into Van Gogh, and it was just very cool. There was a lot of like suicide awareness stuff in the exhibit since he did pass from suicide. And I really appreciated that a lot of his art spoke to like working class and low income people, etc. And it kind of begs the question, like how much despair comes from mental health and how much comes from economic crisis. So I thought it was really good. That was super fun. And some of us like went out later. Was that our last day? I think it was our last day. So then our last day, we had our welcome dinner. Me and the one girl tried some stuff in Amsterdam, and we were just like having a good time. Like we went to this fields and we were just walking around being goofy, and then we had our farewell dinner. So we go to the farewell dinner. They like bring out their special dishes and the food, and the tour guide got me a gift, which was so sweet because the day before when he found out it was my birthday, he was like, I'll get you something. And he actually did, and he read us all a poem where he like rhymed stuff with our names about how sad he was to see us go. It was super creative, super nice. For mine, he was like, her leaving makes me as angry as Bruce Banner. Of course I'm talking about Anna. like it was just so funny. But it was such a good night, and like our tour guide was at our table, so we had like really good conversation. We were just laughing, having such a good time. And then we went out and like walked back as a group together and took more group pictures, and it was just like such a good vibe. And then the next day we all had different arrival times, so like that night was the last time I saw majority of them, and then the next day it was just me and this one girl in our taxi going back. And she was the first girl I had originally hung out with when we got there. So like when it was time for us to leave and separate at our separate gates, before we got into the car, when we got out of the car, like before we were gonna walk up to our different gates, we like hugged. We were like, oh my gosh, like the group chat was like blowing up with everybody saying all these things and being like, oh, so sad to leave, like da 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 da. And it was just so sweet. And then I flew back and flew into Canada, had a layover, and then flew back to the US. But yeah, that was my trip to Europe. It was very sweet. I loved Amsterdam. I wish we had more time there. I loved London. The architecture kind of reminds me of like a bigger Boston. And Paris was crazy, but the Eiffel Tower was gorgeous. She was stunning, and there was a lot of beautiful architecture there and beautiful people there. So yeah, that was my trip to Europe. I hope you could enjoy this video. Don't forget to like if you did, and I hope to see you